Okay, this is not the Business Not As Usual podcast, but this is Vince and Mike doing a final run of our session to be done at the Building Business Capability Conference tomorrow. So you're going to see this after. It's already happened. I'm sure it was great, but this is going to be our final practice. So you ready there, Mikey?
Oh, let's go. Let's spark her up.
Let's do it, brother. All right. So welcome to the missing pieces of the digital transformation puzzle. But before we even get started, let's agree that there is actually no such thing as a digital transformation. There is only transformation to the way that business is done in 2020, in 2021, and beyond. And that happens to be digitally. But it's not about digital transformations. Still, the fact is we suck at digital transformations or transformations in general. And I mean, that's my opinion, but it's also one that's shared by a lot of major industry thought leaders like McKinsey. In their 2018 research, Unlocking the Success in Digital Transformations, they actually concluded that after years of research and years of data, the rate of successful transformations of any kind was less than 30%. And they defined success in their transformation as both an improved performance and that it was sustainable over time, which makes sense, right? Like if you're going to invest time and money in fixing something, you want to make sure that it stays fixed. So that's sort of the point to the transformation is. Now, things get even more problematic when we talk about digital transformations. They fared even worse. Only 16% of companies that were engaged in digital transformations were successful. Now, another 7% actually made change, but had difficulty in sustaining it, which equals one thing, an epic fail, and a lot of wasted time, and a lot of wasted money, and a lot of wasted effort. So you're probably wondering, who are these two guys? Well, we are actually part of the 16%. And we got here by tackling our problem from multiple perspectives, none of which had anything to do with technology. But more on that in a second. So I am Vince, and I help organizations operate in a more efficient and more effective way. And I do that through the lens of strategic business analysis, Lean Six Sigma, and change. And who are you again?
I'm the person sitting here quietly. I am Michael Martino, and I focus on government transformation using a customer-centric approach. We are also the co-hosts of the Business Not As Usual podcast, which for one shining moment was the top 10 100 business podcasts in Canada and South Africa. So
Canada and South Africa.
Yes, two times. Yes. But you're probably thinking, let's get down to business. So when we think about a transformation, and usually when we talk about a digital transformation, what is it that we think about? And historically, and in all the things that we've read around and what you've heard around the people that have not been successful, it is really that they focus on things like digital products first, right? The first thing they think about is a digital product, buying a digital piece of technology to help them transform. Mobile, what is their mobile strategy from a technology perspective? Robotic automation, API, their API gateway strategy, artificial intelligence. And when you start with those things, when you start with technology being the lead of your transformation, it then drives all your decisions. It drives your business. It drives what your new business model is going to be. It drives where your resources are going to go. And it drives the benefits of the transformation. But I'm going to say that a digital transformation has nothing to do with technology. And that is what the 16% that have figured it out, that's the secret sauce that they figured out. And so when you're thinking about a business transformation, think about not leading with technology.
Now, before we go further, I want to take a second and jump in here to acknowledge that we are going to continue making some pretty controversial statements, because a lot of us associate business analysis with technology, and a lot of what we do centers around the technology. What we're saying is there's a lot more for you to consider. So we're going to leave as much time as possible to cover your questions and comments and actually have a discussion today. And we're going to go from the strategic to the tactical. And if we do run out of time, we're going to tell you how to reach out to us so that we can continue the conversation. Now, nothing we say today should actually shock you. It may make you a little uncomfortable. But let's remember, we're business analysts. We want to emphasize the business part. And so when we make these transformational efforts, when we're doing this work, we are going to transform the holistic business.
So a digital transformation is a paradigm shift, which, as Vince has said, is far more than technology. It's actually a change in mindset, and it's a change in your business. So it is really a business transformation. So the 4 pieces that we're going to talk about today. The first one, customer focus. Making your customer the center of everything that you do, from the very start, so understanding what their needs and expectations are, all the way to delivery, and then follow up in terms of iterations of your business model, your process, your technology. The next one is decision making. And the important thing here we're going to talk about is driving down decisions into your business, so the people closest to your frontline teams and your customer. The next one is process, and not to offend, also process. And people. What are the Vince is laughing. I've thrown Vince off. And your people. So let's jump into the thing I love to talk about the most. And what I feel is the most important piece. What is the most important missing piece? And that is your customers. And I know this is probably a shock to everyone, but your customers' lives do not reflect the structure of your organization. They don't get up and think that they have to deal with this department and that department and that department. They think of you as one entity, and they want to tell you something, and they expect you to get it done, okay? Because their life is not perfect, okay? Their world is dynamic, it's turbulent, and it's chaotic. And so if you need to truly understand who they are, you as a company need to take an outside-in approach. Because if your customer's life is turbulent, it's chaotic, it's dynamic, if you're not offering a effortless customer experience, your customers are going to leave you. Now, if you're in government like myself, they can't leave you. You're forced there, but your CSAT will show that it's not an effortless experience. Complaints to your MPs, if you're here in Canada, and MPPs, or the Senate, anybody who's in government, those complaints will come to you. And so if you're not performing well, you're going to hear about it, even if you're a monopoly. Now, the cornerstone for me of understanding who your customer is, what their needs and expectations are, is a full-fledged measurement program. And what I mean by that is not just having NPS or CSAT and then leaving it at that and then trying to figure out what your customer is looking for. Because what I would like to caution to you is, and I felt this, and I probably should have did a better job at the prep, but if you want to put up your hands, if you're allowed to do that, when was the last time you've had a service interaction, let's say with, you've gone to get your car maintenance, or you've been on the phone with a service provider, and you got somewhat good service, and then they ask you how it was, and you go pretty good, and they go great. I'm going to send you a survey. Please give me a 10 because that's how I get measured. Now, that's not going to help you because you're not getting to the root of what your customer, what their needs and expectations are. You are on one hand getting these really high scores in terms of satisfaction, but maybe in terms of feedback, it's really bad. So you're going to have a hard time reconciling that. So your measurement program needs to be able to take customer observations, turn them into insights, and those insights are either customer problems or jobs that they need to do with you, and then turn those customer problems into products and services. Now, that's fancy talk. Like, what does that actually mean? Your measurement program, when you're looking at it, is symbiotic. So if you have CSAT, and it could be whatever you want, CSAT, NPS, that is a very broad, and it gives you it's the canary in the coal mine. It tells you that your satisfaction, let's say, is at 70% for your services. And then you may have a bunch of other metrics, but you're not really sure what's going on there. The next level in a measurement program is your customer effort score that you get from transactional surveys. So how is this transaction that came through your digital channel, how effortless was it?
It's a lot of effort to get this statement out.
It was a lot of effort. and it's important to get that, because where your customer expends the most effort is where your biggest inefficiency is. And so you can see, you get your CSAT that tells you something that's reinforced by more detail in your transactional surveys in terms of a customer effort score. And then if you can have ethnographic research, which is a study where your research team can go out into the field and meet people where they live and understand what their lives are, and then how they interact with different government agencies, the other companies, and then how your company comes into their life and how they have to deal with your company. That gives you now a full 360 of what your customer is doing, what they're thinking, and more importantly, what their needs and expectations are. You then can take that, and what we like to do is create a service journey on purpose. So architect what that service journey should be, and that is through something we like to call service design, where you architect them how they go through the different silos of your company, so it is all one effortless experience. And what you do there, and if you can really get to it, is having your customer, how do they become the center of that? Well, they co-create with you. They are in the workshops with your frontline staff in these workshops, understanding how they can better flow through your company in a journey. They can also keep them engaged throughout your transformation by things like usability testing. They come in and test products. They come in and prep services. And also, as you're going through that, a model office, which allows you to simulate your hypothesis of how these processes and services are not only going to, how your customer will deal with it, but how your employees will service those journeys. And so that is what I mean about putting your customer at the center of everything that you do. Now, you're going to have a lot of inputs coming at you. And so the velocity of how those inputs get done and that decision making, which is now what I think the most important part of a transformation, that decision making. And in traditional companies and companies that take an L on transformational success, there's a lot of governing tables that have overlap. And so you could imagine all the data that's taken, all the workshops that people are in, all the nuanced conversation, hundreds of hours of conversation to come up with a decision and a framework and a path forward to create products and services, and which products and services, then have to go through the hierarchy of levels. And then because there's so much overlap, as it's going up through your governance to higher and higher levels in the company, A, you lose velocity. But B, imagine this person trying to come to all these tables and taking all that data and trying to put it into a deck that's maybe 2 or 3 slides. So all those nuanced conversations get lost. And at worst, the decision and the path forward gets diluted. So at best, it gets diluted. At worst, you get into those tables and they take a complete left-hand turn. And then all the work that your superstars have done have gone out the window. But imagine a framework where your hierarchy is actually as flat as you could make it depending on your company. But each level of governance has very distinct decision-making powers and very distinct reasons why they're making decisions. And so that creates and cultivates an environment of speed, because you've picked your best people to be in the transformation, and they're leading all these teams and workshops. So the faster they can get through these workshops, the faster your transformation can move. But it's not only about making decisions. These people are going to become the leaders. They're going to be the leaders of the new world, of the transformation. And so it's also given them the chance to lead and to make these hard decisions, and not just in the success, but in the failure. And that's where these people are going to grow. It's in the failure of, if that service design, if that process, if that product doesn't hit the mark, how do they then fail fast? And they fail fast because they've been given the chance to make the decision and have the cross-functional team to lead. They can take the inputs of that failure and turn it around for a quick iteration to make the changes that are needed. And so not every decision is going to be a winner, but every decision is, if you can get that faster, it will actually help you. And so a lot of the key decisions and the hard decisions are going to be around process, which, Vince, you and I both agree, it's probably the most important part of the transformation.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, Mike, you can't just expect that your transformation is not going to bring process changes. I would actually question any transformation that thinks that process improvement and process changes and continuous improvement is not part of the equation. And because of that, I would actually argue that process is definitely the most important factor in your transformation, period. You see, I think technology is an enabler. And there's this really interesting thing that I find about technology. Technology enables good process, but also exposes bad process. So if you think that you're just going to go buy some new bit of software or a platform or build an app or do whatever and think that that's going to solve your problems, it's actually going to do the reverse. It's going to expose you to your customers and where you're performing poorly from a process perspective. And it's going to become really apparent to you and to them and to your staff what those problems are. Technology alone isn't enough to make an improvement. And as we've already talked about, technology on its own, without some of these other pieces, is not actually a transformation. Now, I would say, as a first step, once you've decided to go down this road of transformation, you made this decision, we're going to improve, we're going to do something, we're going to try something. I would actually say, don't go out and buy a software or a platform or whatever. I would actually look at the way that you do business, because more often than not, you can transform your business and your business model without significant change to technology and without having to undertake a significant capital expenditure, because technology is expensive. You can improve the way you do business by improving the processes within your business. So I would say, as a first step, if you want to go down this transformational road, is look at how you do business and what are the opportunities to improve. Some of the ways that you can do that is actually by listening to your customers. What are the things they are complaining about? What are the things they are saying to you? Because
Hold on,
that will
Vince.
tell you where your pain is.
Hold on, Vince.
Wait, what?
Hold on. Are you
What?
saying there's an alignment, a synergy, as it were, between business process and customers?
Why, yes, Michael. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Amazing.
Wink. When you can figure out where the customer's pain points are and actually map that back to the business process that supports that pain, that enables the pain, and then actually do something about it, actually fix the process that solves the customer pain point, you can fundamentally change your organization. Now, I would also then suggest you look at where are the staff pain points? What are your staff complaining about? Because they are as close to the process as you can get. So if your staff are saying, oh, this process sucks, or it would be great if we didn't have to do X or Y or Z or Z, then that's a way of helping. And that's going to give you the benefits of transformation without technology. So it's a lot cheaper to do that because you're not going out and buying something, but it's actually a lot more visible to your customers and to your staff because they actually feel the improvement in real time. They see it as it's happening and they feel it as soon as the change is made. And so doing that and making those sort of iterative improvements in the way that you do business from a process perspective is going to help you continue to grow. It's sort of a virtuous cycle. And process can actually be applied at the strategic level when we look at what are the processes that we want to improve and which are the ones that are going to help us move the needle towards whatever business drivers we have, but also very, very tactical, very, very on the ground, which are the ones that are the most felt by your staff and by your customers. Now, earlier we looked at customer focus. We talked about business process. We talked about decisions. But to me, a focus on people, when we look internally, is without a doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the most important factor in your transformational journey. Now, when we talk about people, we're talking about the internal stakeholder groups who are in the line of sight for your transformational work. These are the folks that are the most impacted and unfortunately usually have change thrust upon them. They don't get a say in the change. They are simply impacted by it. So if you want to give your transformation the best chance of success, you need to get really, really good at managing change, at navigating your staff and your people through the change curve from awareness to ultimately acceptance. Because people are really your greatest asset, and they can be the ambassadors for your transformation if you give them the opportunity to do that role. Your people want to feel engaged. They want to feel involved. And you need them to buy into your transformational solution. It's not enough to simply create change and expect that everyone else is going to come along. So your change piece really needs to run parallel with your transformational project or program, and don't look at it as something that you do at the end as you try to implement your solution. I mean, if I can give an example, in one of the last projects that I was sort of impacted by before moving into the BA and project space, there was the organization that I was in was rolling out this new product, and I was in the area that was going to be supporting it on Monday. Well, our training happened on Friday afternoon to be exact. And it was about a 30-minute session where they showed us the new thing and said, This is what you're going to support on Monday. And I mean, Monday came, and it was just an absolute disaster. I mean, it didn't work. Nobody knew what was going on. People quit. Like, people actually quit on the day because they're like, I'm out. I'm not dealing with this. It was such a disaster, and it really could have been avoided by leveraging the knowledge and the strength and getting in advance of the staff that were going to be working on it. It would have been much more successful. And so, you need to invest in change and in bringing people along, because they're not going to follow you just because you tell them to.
Now, you may have noticed that we've throughout this presentation, we talked about every one of the four is the most important one. Now, yes, a running joke throughout the presentation, but the fact is they all have an important role to play, and we wanted to highlight that the secret sauce of the people, of the 60% that have had success, are the ones that focus on this, and the 84% don't focus on this. They focus on all the things that we've talked about, on the technology, on implementing the cool things. Those are the things that they focused on. So when we talk about a digital transformation, and I hope you've seen that is a complete change in mindset, because by just buying technology, it'll just highlight how poor how you deal with your customers is, how bad you make decisions, how fat or inefficient your processes are, and how your people are not engaged. And if you look at it, let's say, I'll use an analogy. Let's say you have a 74 Chevette. So anybody who knows what that is, stick with me. Everybody else, you can Google it real quick while I'm talking. And it doesn't go very fast. It has a terrible engine. The suspension's really bad. You can't take corners on it, but it's okay because you're not that great of a driver. So you start to panic when you go fast. You're not really good at going around corners, so it's okay. But how about magically, a Ferrari ends up in your driveway? The Chevette is gone and the Ferrari's there. Now the Ferrari is just going to highlight how terrible of a driver you are, because you haven't done anything. You got the shiny piece of technology, but you don't have anything behind it. Yeah, you haven't done anything to improve your skill. You haven't done anything to improve your emotion behind speed. And so imagine getting the new technology without doing the four pieces that we've talked about. And so, Vince, if we talk about what that looks like, wrapping this all up in the culture of your company, which is what this is about, how do we start to drive that Ferrari?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is, Mike. It's about the culture of your organization. All of these things are reflective of your organizational culture. So if you are a culture that looks inward and just creates products and processes and services and then just gives them to your customers as if by magic they're going to love them, if you are not listening to your customers, if you are centralizing how you make decisions, where everything needs to be made by some council of elders or some some ivory tower decision making folks, then that's a reflection of your organizational culture. If you are neglecting and opting not to improve how your processes operate and how you can map your processes to your customer pain points, if you are not treating your people as part of the program, as part of the transformation, and simply the end consumer of it, these are all reflective of your culture. And so the things that you need to change are in your organizational culture. So if you can figure out how to drive decisions down and make people accountable and collaborative, If you can start listening to your customers and actually listen to them and actually do something about it, because the other thing is there's nothing worse than asking your customer what they want or what bothers them and then not addressing it. If you can improve the way that you do business through business process improvement, and if you can bring people and engage your people and have them be part of the solution and not just the receivers of it, you are going to fundamentally change your culture, and it's going to be one where people want to come and work. They want to be a part of, and they want to be a part of the transformational program because they see the good that it's doing. Now, everything we've talked about today, it sounds pretty good. We gave you some theoretical stuff. We gave you a lot of practical stuff. It's a lot of what you might hear if you were to read a white paper or to read something on the internet. Now, here's what you're not going to get if you just Googled how to do a digital transformation. Here's how you actually practically do it.
Here's what's worked. So we can only talk about what's worked for us as being successful in a transformation.
Of course.
And what's important is don't think of the transformation as the starting point. Day one of the transformation is not your starting point. It has to happen sometime before that. And what I mean by that is you can't take what you have today with none of the things that we talked about and then go into a large transformational program. You need to prove out bringing these four elements together on smaller initiatives that will prove to the rest of the company that these things actually work. So getting a cross-functional team that takes customer feedback and walks through the ability for them to find out what the problem is, go through service design to create that journey, then do process design to meet that service journey, then create a digital product in an agile way as fast as they can, put something out that customers can use right away, and then continue to iterate. That absolutely has to be done before you get into a large transformational program. You need to prove that that way of delivering works, and the intelligence you get from that is a way to start moving your business to a new business model. And so it's absolutely important to do things like get a service design team, create a digital factory that allows you to iterate through products quickly, and get a bunch of smaller initiatives out before you get to the larger initiative. And if you can do that, then all the things that can go wrong when you're trying to move from that 74 Chevette to that Ferrari will be mitigated because you've already done it in smaller things, and now it's just about scaling that.
Yeah, and you can actually use these, I hate the word, but like these quick wins or these rapid results or whatever to actually prove out the concept of your transformational work, but also to start improving and impacting your customers. But the important thing, and this is what we really want to stress for you, is the four things that we talked about today. That is the work. That is the hard work of the transformation. And so it means that your transformation cannot be like a silver bullet or a magic bullet. It can't. You need to put in the work, and you need to invest in the infrastructure that allows these pieces, these components, to take hold and to start to change your business and your organizational culture. One thing, and I said earlier we were going to say some controversial stuff. Here's the last one, I think. Your transformation should never be led by IT. But your IT area is definitely a key partner. And I want to stress that word, partner, in your transformational journey. Because yes, you can transform with the other pieces that we've talked about, but we also need to bring things into the year 2020 and beyond, 2021, 2025. And the way that your customers want to do business is digitally. So you need to have a digital technological component, but it should not be led by your IT area. And you should do these things prior to your transformation. So before you start charging down the road, invest in building the infrastructure that will enable success to join that 16%. Because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. So all this stuff sounds good. Shoot. I forgot that we moved it, man. Sorry. So if I can just leave you with one thing, what can you do about it? Take our advice.
That's it. Take our advice.
And if you can't, and if you don't want to take our advice, do these. Yeah, sorry, man, I screwed this one up.
No, because
I got to take it off the other sheet. But hey, this is why we're
you
doing
did
this.
Already. You took it off.
I moved it. I didn't remove it from the other one. I didn't I didn't cut and paste. I copy pasted.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So my bad.
Because we already talked about this slide.
I know.
Yeah.
See, this is
Behind
the stuff
scenes.
that people. This is the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, with that, then, Mike and audience, what questions do you have at this time? Hey. All right. What do you think, Mike?
It was good.
Do you think they'll bring us back?
No, I don't know.
I mean, okay, so that was only 36 minutes, which is fine. It's going to leave a bunch of questions for a bunch of time for questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could probably go longer on the customer thing though.
No, I mean, I'm gonna end the broadcast and then we can talk. I made a couple notes.
Okay.
Thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes look at the Business Not As Usual podcast takes over the Building Business Capability Conference 2020. I'll probably put this out as a bonus episode of the podcast. What do you think, Mikey?
Yeah, I think we should do that.
Let's do that.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. So this has been the Business Not As Usual podcast. Peace.
See you later.